to tune in. Good morning, people. Good morning. Happy hump day. Happy Wednesday. Midweek. Say hi in the comments. Shout out to all the new people joining in. Definitely let us know if this is your first time tuning into one of my lives. Let us know where you are logged in from. Personally, I am in Orlando, Florida area right now. But I represent clients all over the world with their family immigration matter. Our locations are just in Orlando, and Atlanta. My phone number is scrolling through the ticker. It's 407-995-6567. If you're on Instagram, my phone number is on my profile. One of these days I will learn how to pin it onto Instagram so that you guys will see permanently. Good morning, Sandra on Facebook from North Carolina. Thank you for tuning in. Hey, Sean, thanks for tuning in. Okay, let me see. So today is just going to be more of, morning business chat, ask your question. Ken says, good morning from the Philippines. Have a great shoot, John RJ. More power. Thanks for tuning in. Hi, Christiana from YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, so definitely say hi. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Today, I just want to do a continuation of yesterday, where I know that there were a lot of questions that I couldn't answer because I was in a rush to go to my meeting. So if you have questions, you can definitely put them in the comment box. I'm using both my phone and computer, so I can scroll through to answer some of those questions. So while I'm waiting on you guys to ask your questions, I'm going to just try to throw out some frequently asked questions that I get as well. And one of those frequently asked questions is related to the COVID vaccine, which I will talk about. Let me just put a note here of what I want to remember to mention about. So somebody here asks, after biometrics, how long for your work permit? The answer, honestly, Sean, is that it really depends. Sometimes it can take a few weeks after, sometimes it can take a couple of months. So, but generally in about 8 weeks on average, I would say you might get you should have gotten your work permit. But again, whenever I say this timelines, it's just an estimate of what, you see. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's what's going to happen, because, there's always sometimes where, there's a delay, or sometimes it's quick. So it just really depends on where you fall. But that's, generally the average. And another thing that we're seeing now is that a lot of people who they bypass their biometrics just so they could work quicker on their case. Let's say they get approved for their work permit. They will then schedule them after that for the biometrics again. So, sometimes USCIS, they just have no rhyme or reason to how certain things are done. Today I posted about the COVID vaccination and the requirement, for the COVID vaccine for you to be able to get your green card. So guys, if you want your green card, you need to get a COVID vaccination, and you need to be fully vaccinated before a medical civic surgeon can sign off on your medicals. And let me explain that to you. So if you are in the process of applying for a green card for the first time, you are required to submit medicals with your application. Now, a lot of people hold off on submitting their medical exam. So let's say there's some people that haven't submitted their medical exam and are waiting to submit it at their interview. For those people, if your interview date comes after October 1st, you must be fully vaccinated. If not, you will not be approved. However, there are exceptions that require a waiver, meaning you will have to fill out a waiver form, pay the $930 filing fee, and pray that you get approved based on your waiver. Some of the waivers are based on your age. If you're a minor and they've not made vaccines available for you, they will probably exempt you. If you have a religious belief, that, strongly opposes to it, you can apply for a waiver. They will have to make the decision. If you let's see, what else did they say is an exception? If you have any kind of contraindication, medical issue, where if you take the vaccine, it could affect your medical condition or other medications or whatever it is, and you have documented proof, you can file for a waiver. Again, a waiver requires you to file like another form, and pay another filing fee saying that you're exempt from this. Otherwise, after October 1st, which is coming up in 2 weeks, you need to be vaccinated if you want to get your green card. So if you're on the fence, that's something you want to think about, whether or not you're going to qualify for a waiver or whether or not you want to get your green card. Shagun says, good morning. He says, can I file citizenship while waiting for a 10-year green card? So the answer is yes, it depends. So if you are currently still pro, I said pro, I'm reading a question here and I'm saying what they're saying. So if you currently have a conditional green card and you've had your conditional green card for up to 3 years, and you're currently still married to your spouse, you can file for naturalization while waiting. Or if you have a conditional green card and you're filing for removal of condition based on abuse or extreme cruelty or battery with your current spouse, you can file for naturalization simultaneously. Otherwise, if you don't fall in one of those categories, no, you have to wait 5 years or until they remove the conditions on your green card. Okay. Somebody, Arna Josie on Instagram says, is the Senate pro-immigration? Honestly, I can't really tell you that. Right now we have a 50-50 Senate, but it doesn't mean that within each party they don't have different members of the cabinet that have their own views on it. So I don't know the answer to that, so we will know based on how they vote on, the reconciliation bill that I talked about yesterday. So let's see what happens, and all hope for the best. Ariana says, greetings from New York. How are you doing today? I am doing wonderful. Thank you, Ariana, and thank you for tuning in. Let's see what else. Somebody says on Instagram, good morning. I have a pending appeal based on marriage and I'm having trouble with my husband. So I filed VAWA, but I only filed an I-360 only. Okay, people do that. I don't know if you're asking me a question or you're just sort of telling me where you stand. Okay, I see what you said. You continued your question. I don't have work. I don't have no work. Let me see. But I only filed an I-360 alone, and I got my prima facie, and I already did my biometrics. Please, what should I be expecting? My work authorization. So the first question is, well, why didn't you file an adjustment of status? If you filed an appeal, it means that your case was denied, right? Your original case was denied. So you should have just filed an adjustment of status so you can get your work permit, because you're not going to get a work permit until they approve your VAWA case now. And most VAWA cases right now are taking 2 years to 2.5 years for approval. Having said that, there are always going to be some exceptions to the rule where, somebody's VAWA gets approved quicker, or later. But generally, if you don't file a work permit based on a pending adjustment of status when you submit a VAWA application, you have to wait for VAWA approval. And that brings me to my next frequently asked question. I get this question all the time. What do you mean when you say, there are different kinds of work permits, when you submit a VAWA application? So let me explain that again. So when you submit a VAWA application with an adjustment of status application, an adjustment of status, for those who don't know, basically means you are submitted an I-485, which will basically, on its approval, you'll be a green card holder, right? If you're submitting your VAWA application at the same time as that, and you select the right category on your work permit application, generally, you will get a work permit within 5 to 8 months if you qualify for a work permit, okay? That is generally the window. Again, every time I tell you guys a timeline, don't say, oh, Attorney Ayesha said it's going to take 5 to 8 months. This is just a timeline. It could be before, it could be after. So that's the first thing. Now, if you don't file, or you can file your VAWA application without an adjustment of status. Okay, so regardless of whether you file it without an adjustment of status or whether you file with an adjustment of status, at the approval of your VAWA work permit, the approval of your VAWA case, I'm confusing myself. If you selected in your VAWA application to be granted a work permit, you will be granted a work permit based on an approved VAWA. So the first work permit that you get is based on an adjustment of status, meaning that you have a case pending. But if you get a work permit that says C31, that's, if you look on your card, it will say C31. It means that your VAWA case has been approved. It is really weird because they send that before they send you your actual letter of approval. And sometimes it could take them a few months later. Like they may send you your letter of approval 5 months after this work permit. But when you get a C31, it basically means that your VAWA case has been approved and you're essentially just waiting for the approval. You're essentially just waiting to be scheduled for your green card interview. Okay, I hope that is clear. So Chandel says, good morning, beautiful lady of God. Continue to keep changing. God bless you in abundance. Thank you so much. God bless y'all too. So Ariana says, is brother and sister sponsoring discontinued? Or I heard the rumors. Who did you hear the rumors from, Ariana? Where did you hear that rumor? Why would it be discontinued? But just take it that it is a rumor. I haven't heard it, and I can't imagine why it'll be discontinued. If they're allowing green card holders to petition, why would they not allow siblings to petition for their U.S. citizen spouse? So it's definitely not an accurate rumor. You're doing a great job. Thank you. Good morning, Nene from California. Shagan says you're doing a great job. Thank you. Nene says it's my first time watching live. Awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's see, what other questions do I have here? Okay, somebody on Instagram says, Kenny says, good morning. How long does it take for a VAWA case to get approved? Timeline, like I mentioned earlier, it could take anywhere from 2 months to I said 2 months, 2 years, 2.5 years. It's really hard to say. Before the pandemic, we used to see more 18 months, to 24 months. With the pandemic, there's a backlog. This is just a general timeline. Even, with that timeline, sometimes it's just really hard to, like I always say, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you, but I can just give you an estimate what we see, where majority of the people lie. So, that's what it is. Okay, so Shegun says, my friend's son was denied a visiting visa twice in Africa. Africa is a continent. Where exactly was he denied? What country? And he's trying to come to the US to meet his mom. Well, the first question is his mother, does she have status? One, does she have status? Two, how old is the son? Because all those things can determine whether or not it might be easier for her to just file for him. One thing about, I'm going to make an educated guess that this is Nigeria based on your name is Nigerian. I'm assuming your friend is Nigerian. One thing that I will say about the Nigerian embassy, since, I handle a lot of Nigerian cases and I myself am Nigerian, is that it is very difficult to get a visiting visa from Nigeria to the United States if you do not show a sufficient nexus to your home country. And what I mean by that is if, you cannot show that you will be returning back after your visit, it will be very difficult. Okay, so, Shagun, you said your mom is the person from Liberia, so I'll get to that. So let me finish my thought here. It's usually very difficult when you don't have any nexus to your home country, because what they're looking at is, do you have a stable job in your home country that you're going to return to? Do you have property? Are you married? Do you have kids? Do you have your spouse? Do you have a business that's lucrative? If you have all those things, it increases your chance of getting a visiting visa because they know that you'll come back and you're not going to abandon those things. And then on the other hand, if you've come here before on a visa and return back, then you've proven trust where they know that, when they give you visas, you go and you return. So it's easier then to get a visa, So that's as far as getting visiting visas from outside the country. And then Shegun clarified and said his friend is actually from Liberia. and her mom is a 10-year green card holder. Well, if your friend is if your friend's mother is a 10-year green card holder, then she can petition for her child. If her child is unmarried, granted, the wait time is going to be different if the child is under 21 or if the child is over 21. If the child is under 21, visas are immediately current and available right now. If the child is over 21, you're looking at probably like a 5-year wait time. So those are two other options that they could try. If your friend is of college age, another thing they could do is they could apply to schools here, and get into a school. If they get into a school, they can at least get an F1 and, be able to come here. Okay. Somebody says, how long does it take after you've done your fingerprints when you're married to a U.S. citizen? That answer, there's no answer to that. It's whenever they feel like calling you. I can give you a timeline from when you submit your petition till when you're called for an interview, generally based on marriage right now. And a lot of the states that I work with, we're seeing a year's timeline. I will say Maryland, for whatever reason, seems to be the shortest. We're seeing like 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, but majority of all the other states, we're definitely seeing a longer time, like about literally on the 12-month anniversary of you filing. That's when we're seeing them being called for an interview. Okay, so on Instagram, somebody says, I filed since 2018 for VAWA. I still haven't got my work authorization renewed every year. I still get my work authorization renewed every year, but haven't heard anything about my case. 2019, 2020, 2021. Yeah, so, you definitely want to try and follow up or ask the attorney who represented you to follow up just to see if they can find out, what's going on with your case. 2018 is a long time. Okay. So Shanique says, how long does it take to get advanced parole through VAWA? So the answer depends on if you submitted your advanced parole. And for those who don't know what advanced parole means, that just means a travel permit. If you submitted a travel permit with an adjustment of status and your work permit when you filed for your VAWA, generally, the timeline is around 5 to 8 months. You're usually approved for your travel permit exactly at the same time as your employment authorization, unless there's a reason why they don't want to approve your travel permit, just because they issue it on the same card. Your travel permit and your work permit are on the same card, so it makes sense for them to just approve it, at the same time. That being said, something that we observed, and when I say we, I mean us here in the office, is that earlier this year, we were seeing some of our clients, they will get their work permit approved this week, and then the following week, they will get their travel permit. And what was happening was they were getting two separate documents. So they will get a card that says work permit with no travel permit, and then they will get an actual letter with their picture and the approval for the for the travel permit, which they could use to travel. Personally, I think that was just an inconvenience, but I haven't seen that recently. So hopefully, they won't continue that. Okay, let's see, what other questions do we have? Okay, Patrick says, how long will it take to get approved for asylum? I don't have asylum, so I don't want to answer that question. Does it have to be an FDA approved vaccine? No, you just need to get vaccinated with one of the permitted and approved COVID vaccinations, whether it be Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, or Pfizer. OJ Blazin says, always on point. Thank you so much. Okay. So do I have any other questions before I jump off? Let me see. Macedonas, good morning from Washington State. I feel like I haven't seen you on here in a long time, but thanks for tuning in. So Evangelist says, I do have a question and it's very important. All right, Evangelist, we'll wait for you to ask your question. In the meantime, Carrie Ann says, good morning. I submitted VAWA application in March. Fingerprint was already applied in March for work authorization. Should they have sent it already? Not necessarily. You're still very much within the timeline to receive a work permit. And when you say fingerprints applied, I'm assuming that you probably got one of those bypass biometrics. Again, it's a 5 to 8 months period. So if you did it in March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, it could be in any of that window. That's the average time. Good morning, Afis on Instagram. Sorry, guys, I keep stretching out my hands because I'm using my phone screen on the top, so I have to scroll through to catch. Okay, I see some questions in here. Cece says, any updates on the status of TPS? The only update is that, well, what country? I guess the question is what country? If it's for Haiti, yeah, you can start applying now if you didn't know that. Okay. Let's see. This person says, my wife and I are not divorced and I reached the 5-year mark. Can I file citizenship without her or do I have to divorce her? You can file on the basis of being a 5-year green card holder as long as you've met the 5-year requirements, you've not been out of the country for 2.5 years of those 5 years. So the only time that you have to file with your spouse based on continued marriage and continued cohabitation is if you're doing it within 3 years of your green card. Okay. Somebody says, hi, I'm dental. Can I ask if your VAWA case does not get approved, can you be put in removal proceedings? So here's the thing. Every time that you submit something to immigration, there is always a risk that if you're denied, you could be NTA'd. What NTA means is a notice to appear in front of an immigration judge for removal proceedings. There is always that risk. Having said that, a lot of, when we were in the previous administration, presidential administration, they made this a priority, meaning automatic NTA if you get denied. Things have changed with the current president who has decided to prioritize certain types of cases, VAWA not included, to be NTA'd. That doesn't mean that you cannot be NTA'd, but it just means that it's not one of the priorities right now. But again, even if it's one of the priorities, this is one of those things where it's truly a stroke of luck. And what I mean by that is that sometimes you can have a denial and you will never hear anything for like 5 years. And somebody can get denied today and 60 days later, they get a removal proceeding notice to appear in front of an immigration judge. So it's really hard. It's really hard to say where you will fall. But, you know, right now we have priorities versus non-priorities. You know, previous administration before, everybody should be worried because he's like, get them all out here, you know, out of here. But it's different now, thankfully. Okay, so let's see what other questions am I missing? Shagun says, I'd like to book a consultation with you. And how much does it cost? Consultation is $150. You can call me 407-995-6567. Evangelist says, why does anytime I travel outside of the USA, they always call me in the room and I do have my green card? I can't answer that question. You know, Customs and Borders has the discretion to do what they want to do. So it just depends on, one, what country you travel to, two, how long you were gone, and three, maybe they're just jerks. Sometimes you have jerks that are CBP that are just filled with a lot of you know, machismo, power and control, and just want to show they're the big bad bosses. So maybe that's why. But the good news is clearly they let you go. So that's good. So that is notes to yourself that you want to try and naturalize as soon as you're eligible so you don't have to deal with that anymore. Okay, so let's see what other questions. Okay. I have someone who applied for, I don't understand that question. Okay, so let's see what else here. Okay, so let's see what other questions we have. I can see questions on Instagram. I'm just trying to figure out how to answer those questions. Did I just miss them? CCK, I don't understand your question. I have someone who applied for the renewal and wondering when they're going to allow them to apply for residency. What renewal did they apply for? What renewal? Like, I don't understand the question. If you're a green card holder and you have a child abroad, do you include that child when applying for your citizenship? Heck yeah. What kind of question is that, Thomas? Are you abandoning your child? That is the worst thing you can ever do, not including your children. And I know I am getting on a pedestal right now of, holy sanctimony, but you cannot exclude your child. One, you're committing perjury. You are lying to USCIS, number one. Number two, if you do not include your child in your original application, your child you would never be able to file for your child. A lot of children deal with a lot of trauma and resentment towards their parents when they make those decisions. I know for you guys as parents, you feel like you're doing the best for your child. Well, if I go to America, things would be better. And maybe later I'll find a way to bring you here, or, I'll send you money or something like that. But no, always include your children. You are already in the United States. You're not going to be denied because you have children, So include your children in your application, okay? Christiana says, can your case be denied if you don't use your prima facie? No, your prima facie is just a benefit. It's like saying, can your case be denied if you don't use your work permit because you just don't want to work? No, it's just a benefit to you. If you need it, use it. But it doesn't affect your case in any way at all. Evangelist said, do you think if you've been in jail, they can do that to you? The answer is, yeah, it depends. It depends, on what your record is, if, they want to make sure, whatever background check they're doing, but anything, I really don't know how Customs and Border think and who and why they decide to pick certain people. But anything could be the reason why. But again, like I said, just go get naturalized so you don't have to deal with that. Okay. Somebody says, can I petition for myself if I've been here for over 5 years out of status and I'm not married? No, you cannot. No, you petition for yourself if there's something that qualifies you to petition for yourself. As of the laws right now, the things that will qualify you to self-petition for yourself are either a VAWA visa because you were married, or you're currently married, and your spouse was abusive. And if you're divorced, it's not been over 2 years. Or if you qualify for a T visa or U visa, T visa based on human trafficking, somebody brought you, smuggled you into this country and try to put you to work as a sex worker or any kind of worker or slave or whatever the case may be. Or a U visa where, you've experienced and witnessed violence, a crime of violence, and you're willing to work with the authorities to apprehend that person. So that's that. Ali Satar, let me try and read this. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Ayesha, hope you're well. Yes, I am. Was wondering if it would be possible to acquire a business visa, more like an investigatory trip. Regards. That's not how it works. So usually, if you are looking to get a business visa, it's usually because there's a business taking place here. Like a lot of people will get like a B1 visa, like if they have like conferences and stuff like that. The other option is if you're trying to get a visa, a business visa, because you want to invest in the United States, there are two different types of visas, and again, I don't handle business immigration cases, but I will just break it down real quickly for you. Just so you have an idea. The first one is one that allows you to stay here kind of indefinitely, but it's not a green card. It won't give you a green card. It's called an E2 visa. It will allow you and your children and your spouse, your children under 21, to stay here, and your spouse will be able to stay here and work, and your children will be able to go to school if you're willing to invest in the United States. With that, there's no income cap, just because but it has to be a significant investment. So they will make a decision based on the size of the business, the type of the business, and how much you're investing in there. The second option is what's the second option? The second option is an EB-5 visa, which basically is a green card. And with that, you're going to have to be, you're looking at spending at least $1 million. You're looking at least spending $1 million. If you spend $1 million, you know, you're willing to hire like 10 people in the United States, they will help you. I know that President Trump changed the requirement. It used to be like, you know, $500,000 if you're doing it in like a rural area where there's not a lot of work, and then 1 million if it's in the city. But now he increased it. I want to say it's 1 million and 1.8 or 801 million. I just don't remember because again, I don't do business immigration, but those would be your options for that. Okay. Amelia says, what are the benefits for a prima facie? So the benefits for a prima facie letter is, one, it allows you to get public assistance state specific. If you are in a situation where you need that public assistance, whether it's housing or via cash, a lot of states will require that you should have left your spouse that's abusive in order for them to approve that. In some other states, it would allow you to get your driver's license. If you've not yet gotten your driver's license and you don't want to wait till you get your work permit, you can get your driver's license. Again, it's state specific. And then the third thing I allowed you to is to get financial aid for school. So for that year of your prima facie, you'll be able to get financial aid. But prima facies are usually, so you get 1 year and then it's renewed every 6 months. So for as long as it's being renewed, you'll be eligible for financial aid if you wanted to go back to school to better yourself. So those are some of the benefits. And more importantly, a prima facie means that you're one step closer to getting an approval and that you've met the bare minimum standards. It's not a guarantee that you'll be approved, but having the bare minimum standards means that now we're just going to look through a fine-tooth comb just to make sure everything else looks good. Okay. All right. I think I'm frozen. If your spouse sponsors you and the application is denied, what happens? Well, a few things happen. If your spouse sponsors you and the application is denied, you want to really evaluate why your application was denied. If it was an error, clear error on USCIS part, or clear error of something that you guys can fix, you know, and an example of that is maybe you didn't submit the right financial affidavit of support, you can file an appeal. You can file an appeal so that you will, what am I saying? You know, basically they can overturn that. If they're saying that there's a marriage sham case and you know that there's no marriage sham case, you can either file an appeal, you know, or you can file again with your spouse, you know. And then of course the final option is if you and your spouse are having issues, meaning that your spouse might be abusive, might be extremely cruel, or is committing battery against you. Another thing you can evaluate is if you qualify for VAWA. If you do qualify for VAWA, you can submit a VAWA application. Evangelist says, can we have a free consultation? No, you cannot. I spend my mornings coming here to educate you guys, you know, because I feel like you guys are worth it to know what's going on in immigration. So my time is also valuable. And if you want a consultation that's confidential, that talks about what is happening with your own particular case, the strategies that I'll use, what I recommend you should do, it definitely deserves a fee. So Elide says, good morning. If your spouse files for you, but is abusing you and you left the marriage and he went ahead and withdrew the application and immigration denied you, what can you do next? Elide, call me. You should be able to, well, we need to qualify you to see if you qualify for VAWA. If you do, we can file a VAWA application. That's what you can do. Sophia says, good morning. Have a wonderful day. Looking forward to work with you. Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. I think my mouth is getting tired. Let me see what this person is saying. VAWA 35 months, prima facie granted and been renewed, EAD being renewed, no RFE issued since. What does it mean? It doesn't mean anything, but you can certainly follow up just to see what's going on and what the hold up is. You know, it's a little long, but you can follow up just to see. Okay. Okay, guys. Tiny Bit says, I just joined the live. This is on Instagram. I'm not sure if you answered this question, but I have a question. Well, what is your question? And someone else asked, while I'm waiting for that, somebody else asked, how long after do you get a response after you put in your papers? So the first response that you get from any immigration petition that you put in is a filing receipt. And that can take anywhere from 3 weeks to 8 weeks. It just really depends. Usually, if you've not gotten a filing receipt in 8 weeks, I'm usually concerned, like, okay, did they not get the file? For me personally, I always issue trust checks to USCIS for any filing that I do, because it tells me that the check has been cashed. Because once I know the check has been cashed, then I know that even if they've not sent a filing receipt, that it's been cashed and it's on the way. It's just a delay. We saw a lot of that happening last year. This year we've been fortunate, at least in my practice, where people are at least getting their filing receipt within 8 weeks. And after that, the next thing that happens is usually your biometrics. Again, it depends on what case you're filing. So this is just a general case. Your biometrics comes next. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, so I'm a U.S. citizen and I'm filing a marriage-based application for my spouse who lives here and stepchild who lives abroad. I'm filing concurrent. Should I add the biometrics fee with the $485? Okay, so what you're saying leads me to believe that you actually don't understand how it works, and you probably shouldn't be filing for yourself because you're going to screw yourself over. So happy to schedule a consult with you to assist you with it. Otherwise, I cannot give you legal advice what to do if you want to try to attempt to do it legally yourself. Ty says, can I get financial aid to go to school with a prima facie? Yes, you should be able to. TPS renewal. I still don't know what that question is. Okay, somebody says, how long after getting my prima facie determination will I get my C9 EAD? So desperate to start working. So your prima facie has nothing to do with your C9 EAD, because your prima facie is for your VAWA case. Your C9 is for your adjustment of status. Generally, you want to count from the time when you submitted your petition. When you submitted your petition, you want to count, anywhere from 5 months to 8 months time. That's the average window. Again, whenever I give you guys a timeline, usually sometimes it could be before. Some people can get it in 4 months. Some people can get it in 9 months or 10 months. It just really depends, but that is the average. Chan says, I filed a renewal EAD in December 2020 and I haven't received a receipt. What might be the cause? I don't know what the cause is. I would be concerned about that. I would recommend that you contact USCIS and do a service inquiry just to see if they did in fact receive it. If you can provide them with your tracking. First of all, if you're mailing anything to USCIS, you always want to have your tracking, and you always want to make a photocopy of when it was delivered. So if you send something tracking, anything that you send with tracking usually will get there in 2-3 days. So you want to make it a point of duty to check, your USPS, FedEx, wherever, on the delivery. The reason why is because after 4 months, I will speak of USPS alone. I don't know how the others do it, but after 4 months, everything is wiped off of USPS's platform. So if they've delivered something and you didn't check, like let's say like you, Chan, you submitted something in December and you didn't check till now, which is September. So that's 9 months later. You wouldn't have any proof that it was delivered, because it will be gone from USPS's system. So make sure that whatever you guys send to USCIS, for those of you that want to do it by yourselves, that you make sure that you screenshot your and save your delivery date, so that you can use that to say this was delivered on X date to X office at X time. Okay, Tabitha, if your spouse left your house and you call him and he doesn't answer you and you have an interview scheduled, can you go to the interview without him? Well, you will be denied. You can go to the interview, but you will be denied, and that's awful. However, if your interview has not arrived, one of the things I would recommend is calling my office. Let us screen you. to see if you qualify for VAWA. If you qualify for VAWA, there are ways that we can try to help you to see if we can intercept that application that's pending, the 485, just so that you merge it with a VAWA application and you don't get an automatic denial. So call the office to schedule a consult, okay? All right, guys. Well, this was fun. I will be live again tomorrow. Actually, I'm not sure if I'm going to be live tomorrow. I'm not sure because I think I have an early appointment, but I'm not sure. But otherwise, just subscribe to my channel on YouTube and hit the notification button, you know, on Facebook and Instagram, so that if I do go live, you will know that I'm going live. If I'm going live tomorrow, it will be somewhere between 9 to about 9:15 is when I'll go live. The other thing I wanted to say is thank you so much on Facebook. I saw that we had 8,000 followers. So I am so grateful for every single one of you that follow me, that come on here live to listen to me yap about immigration. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day and have a